70 a.m. and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show.
Trento heads United West, a group that says it defends Western civilization against the onslaught of Islam.
You know, I'm not a genius. I'm not a brilliant guy, though some people think I am, but I'm not. I'm a very hard worker. For a good portion of my academic career, I played around and didn't apply myself, but then as a result of becoming a born-again Christian, actually, back in college, got very serious and applied myself and worked extremely hard and specialized in, I did a degree in law enforcement. I was interested going into the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Maybe we'll get into that story sometime. It's a pretty fascinating story. Changed my career to go into theology. Studied, did a degree in theology, Christian theology. Was going to go to law school to fight for justice, truth, justice in the American way. Wound up going to seminary, studying philosophy, became a Christian apologist, and got very involved back in the 80s in the cultural battles of the day. Was part of the Reagan Revolution, the religious right. So I cut my teeth on some of these very complex, convoluted political issues and ran around Washington, D.C. quite a bit in those days. And it looks like I'm still doing the same old stuff, fighting the battles, but this time, as opposed to the secular humanists as the primary enemy out there, we've got a concoction of Marxist socialists joining with the green. The red folks are joining with the Islamic jihadis. It's really, really crazy. But on this 24th day of October, Thursday, 2013, can anybody tell me, and as I said, I'm not a genius, not at all, hard worker. I have tried. I cannot understand, I cannot figure out what the hell Obamacare is. I don't understand Obamacare.
It's a phone number.
It's an 800 number.
It's a phone number and a bad website. What's not to understand?
I thought it was free health care for everybody. It's not free health care for everybody.
No, not really.
What is it? How is it more advantageous? I know there's a component of free health care for some people.
Yeah.
Free.
Oh, yeah, it's free. No one has to pay for it.
Nobody
pays for it. Obama pays for it, just like the phones and...
But what is as we speak right now, the 24th of October, 5 minutes after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, another beautiful Thursday afternoon in Florida. The website is a disaster, but Catherine Sibilis is calling in all the I want the A team. Did you see her the other night on TV?
Well, 3.5 years into the project, why?
This is typical of the elite ideologues of the left. They are schooled in academia. They usually come out of white-collar families. They have a little bit of wherewithal, like the Kennedys, people like that.
Well, at least he was a bootlegger. He knew how to make money. These clowns don't even know how to do anything.
JFK was a hero, PT 109.
Unlike
John Kerry, but these people go into the academy and they come up with all these theories, no real world practice. How many paychecks do you think President Obama has written in his life? He's 51 years old.
None.
50 years old. Yeah, zero. He's never had to make a payroll. He's never had to manage a company that required a profit at the end of the year to stay in business. He manages a company
the community organizing business doesn't require a P&L?
No. No, you go and you take some of your colleagues and you say, take Jesse Jackson with you in Chicago. Here's how it works.
How about state senator? Did he? Is that like being a boss when you're a state senator?
No, because you don't have to make a profit. You
Oh,
spend
yeah.
campaign money, and he was scooped up because he's a clean-looking black guy. Remember what Joe Biden said? He's a clean
speaks
black
well.
guy. He speaks well.
He cleans up nice.
So he was scooped up early by people that said, we can send that boy places. And they put money together, Saudi money, we know, education. He's a smart guy. I mean, he managed to do well, and he managed to sound like he was doing well in
He's smart enough to get
college.
elected president.
Yeah, I'd like to see his papers, what he wrote on all of that. But you don't.
He'll have to check with Bill Ayers.
He didn't have to raise any. He didn't have to make a profit anywhere in his career. Never had to do that. He doesn't either now. He runs a big company, and whenever he runs out of money, he says,
Print more.
raise the debt ceiling.
I run a
Print some
$2
more.
trillion a year deficit almost.
Raise some more. Well, but these academics, these leftist academics, everything works in the petri dish of
The ivory
the
towers.
non-real world activity.
Theoreticians versus practitioners.
Yeah, we can roll out this program. And remember Hillary's healthcare program? She had 85 charts going all over, and everybody's head was spinning. I mean, it was so ridiculous without really computers. Right now, Sibyllus and others, they cannot get the website straightened out. Now, Obama the other day, in his Rose Garden fainting experience where the young girl was fainting, Obama the other day, President Obama, said that he's very, very good. Hey, look, Obamacare is not a website. That's irrelevant to the fact of good insurance opportunities for everybody. Mary over in Delaware, one lady, spent 7 hours. She finally got through on her state program, not on the federal program. She got health care, and they dragged her up there, and I love Obama. But the Sibyllus team, the Obama team, is bringing the brightest and the best of IT. We're bringing them together to rewrite 5 million bits of code. I mean, this is insane, folks. And right now, if you think the solution to Obamacare is fixing the website, wait until the website works. And 400 different plans for 200 different million people, worked out over 50 states in seconds has to occur. And you got dumb Democrat voters who are so stupid they don't know what poll they belong to. They're going to figure out, I'm not a smart person. I went on and I was going to try to figure it out. I couldn't get on the website, but I've done research about it. And I think in Florida there's 67 plans. We have 67 counties. We have 19 million people. And somehow all of that has to work flawlessly. Ain't going to happen.
Well, so far, I read something
penalized.
earlier today, 300,000 people have lost their policy so far in the state of Florida.
It's the program, if you can get in and get it going, it makes you marry your kids. It's exchanging, the parents for the kids on certain things, and it's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
It's got no chance. What would make people think that the federal government, the incompetent, overspending federal government, could ever possibly get this task done?
Now, because you look at the military, and notwithstanding the fact that the military is bloated and needs cuts in certain places, not Obama-type cuts, but needs cuts in certain places, military is extremely efficient in terms of its command, its communication, particularly in battle. So people say, well, there's a federal agency that works very, very well. Yes and no. It's run federally, but it's really run in an entrepreneurial sense. I mean, you've got to have success. The success is the success on the battlefield, or the success is the success with weapons programs. There's an immediate verification of your success, and you're thrown out of the Army. The demands are so critical for performance that you're bounced out. This doesn't apply if you're an elected official in Washington, D.C., and you have one of these bloated federal programs where you go,
Hey,
you can't throw me out. I'm elected by the people.
Imagine if the software worked like this on a weapon system with the Department of Defense. You tell me that the Department of Defense would ever contemplate doing anything with that company
of
again.
course not.
Never, ever. So there's your comparison for a federally,
And don't forget, this program barely made it past. If it wasn't for John Roberts and his misinterpretation
It's a tax.
of the Commerce Clause.
He called it a tax.
Yep. If he properly, and that's a bizarre story.
What dirt did they have on him?
Something
What is he hiding to have come up with
something,
that?
yeah. But if that didn't happen, this whole thing would be over with. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen because there's going to be a penalty if you don't sign up.
But
properly.
you can't penalize people for not buying something
do it.
that is not available to buy because your website stinks.
Now, what do you think Obama is going to say or do when everybody comes into his room and says, "Mr. Obama, we got to delay this a year"? What do you think he's going to do when he has to go give the little? He's not going to give the speech. He's going to pawn it off on one of his functionaries. Go give the speech. And President Obama wants to move ahead, but we advised him we need a year to work all the details out.
I never said I wanted it implemented right away. It'll be like his red line. I never said
I
that.
didn't say that. Who are you talking to?
What are you talking about? I said
You believe that videotape or my lying lips? What do you believe? So, hey, look, folks.
Actually, Tom, he'll reverse it. He'll reverse it. After another week or two of pressure, he'll come out and he'll say it was his decision to delay it. He'll come down and say, he'll disregard, forget the 4 years of no one wanting it, forget the months of not preparing or running the tests, forget the debacle that it's been the last 2.5 weeks. Once the pressure mounts, he'll come out and say it was his idea.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right.
To delay it.
And folks, that's one of the things we do here on TrentoVision at 13 minutes after 5 o'clock. We expose to you President Obama's Slick Willie. He's slicker than Willie ever was. His Slick Willie capabilities to deceive at least his supporters. And this is sad because he's gaining more and more supporters because more and more people want free stuff. He's the president that eventually, inevitably, will give you free stuff. This is very bad. When a house has people that just want to not produce but consume and be lazy and be consumers, a household cannot stand. Take a small business. You're running a donut shop. You got 6 employees. Nobody wants to make the donuts. They just want to eat them. One guy's making them. How long is that going to go on for? Well, extrapolate from there. Simply 330 million people. And you start having the majority of the citizens who want to eat the donuts and not go in early and make the donuts.
Half of the country doesn't pay any federal income tax.
How is that going to be sustained? And those who don't pay income tax, they're working on the side. They're getting their federal benefits. This is Obama. He's constructing this, and he doesn't care because he wants the United States to come down a few, ratchet the country down a few steps, and not be a first world only superpower. Why? In his mind, he believes in liberation theology. He believes it's just to have people not being superpowers. And he also believes erroneously that the way you avoid conflict with others is you aren't better than others. You're equal to others, and they won't be jealous or envious, and they're not going to bother you. He doesn't understand the threat doctrine.
And it goes back to what you said yesterday about the anti-colonialism.
Yeah, he's an anti-colonialist, and come Friday, tomorrow, in Daytona Beach at the SICA, S-I-C-A, SICA Community Center.
I'm sick of
Daytona
you.
Beach. Where have you been, Abdullah?
I have been here. I've been listening to your garbage for several days.
Did you watch I know you were here for the show, but did you watch the replay of the Saba Ahmed?
I watched this, yes.
I saw your eye, a little twinkle in your eye for that.
She's
Sunni,
okay.
that
I just
Sunni
like
babe.
to see the hijab. I like to see the hijab.
Did you see what she has on her nose right here?
She have the nose ring.
Yeah, not a nose ring.
The little...
Diamond.
Yes.
Diamond, yeah. Well, the ring is this.
Yeah. Oh, no, not like...
Should I get a nose ring?
No.
Okay. She has the little cute thing. How does that work with the Sharia, where you're not supposed to draw attention to yourself in your modesty?
I call her somewhat what you say, the minor. She is a borderline minor.
Okay, but if you didn't have 4 wives, would you?
I would very much consider.
Okay, good. Even
I could teach her to be good Muslim
Okay,
wife.
good. Even though she's on the other side of the equation there.
What do you mean?
Shia. Oh, no, she's
She is
That's-
Sunni. What are you talking?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I could never marry Shia. What the hell is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, here's what we're going to do, Mr. Sunni, today. Again, no CJ.
Where has your little Jewish friend gone?
Hi, CJ. First couple of days of the week. Here is, let me show you this. Can I show you this? Because people do freeze frames and all that. No, I can't show you this.
It's got names.
There's some names on it, so I
don't
can't
do
show
that.
it. But I can. Here's a
Yep,
piece.
people could stop it. They
Yeah,
could
they
stop
can,
it.
they can stop
They
it.
could
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
You do
yeah.
tricky stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. We got some names on it. Anyway, there's a sheet of paper here that has. I know what I can do. Watch this. Aha!
Aha!
Sheet of paper.
Oh, you're busy, Trento.
Why is it disappearing? Sheet of paper. All that stuff is what's going on this week. So we are this month. We're very, very busy. So CJ and J. Mark Campbell needed a little more time. Everybody's a volunteer here. We don't have to hold their pay for not being here this week because there is no pay. Okay, everybody's a volunteer, and they needed a little more time in preparation for the month ahead.
That's a good time to tell people that they can donate, Tom.
Now, why would you make that connection?
Because you were talking about not getting paychecks.
So we still have to pay the bills, the radio time, the air time, the electricity, the travel, all of that. So are you telling me all the money we raise goes into our expenses?
And then some.
A couple of cigars. We buy a couple of cigars. We buy food and stuff, to Coca-Colas and things like that. That's our
Pretzels.
salary. A couple donuts. We keep the folks fed enough above the, what line would that be called?
Sustenance?
The sustenance line, above that line to keep active. Well, but sadly, our CJ.
Hey, I wonder if we could apply for food stamps as a 501c3.
Oh, man, Bama, send us, you know what? I wonder if we can do that. A 501c3, the United West. I wonder if we can apply
Can I
for
tell you, Tom?
subsidies from
I
President
wouldn't
Obama.
take it.
Okay. I think I would.
I take it from Al Walid bin Talal first.
Before the feds?
Yes.
It's our money. If you pay taxes in. But in any event, CJ also was a little under the weather. So,
Where does the term "under the weather" come from?
well, you have the weather, and then you're under it. So you're under the weather. Okay.
Thanks.
That's good.
That explains everything.
And J. Mark is still.
Kayaking. He's halfway to Cuba.
He kayaked. I mean, we're in this vicious battle to lose weight, and he's surged ahead of me, percentage-wise. But I said, you're like the rabbit. You're going to take off fast with all your don't eat this, don't eat this.
Well, he's going no carbs.
slow.
You're not going no carbs.
I'm not doing no carbs. I was an athlete all my life. He was too, actually. But I
He was a
disciplined-
punter.
I was a disciplined athlete, and in weight sports where you had to make weight. So I know how to do it. I just don't like doing it. I like eating. I like eating Italian food.
I love the Italian food. Trento, you...
No, what are you going to do? All right, so here's what we're doing today. We still have this picture behind me. I want to sketch out a little more on the Beirut bombing, which was yesterday, 30-year anniversary, 23 October. Today's the 24th, but we have an eclectic schedule today. One of the nemesis of the United West, that's our counterterrorism educational organization. For those of you in your automobile on I-95 or Military Trail or A1A, driving anywhere from Miami all the way up to Orlando, you're listening to my voice right now, 20 minutes after 5 o'clock, 24 October 2013 on WNN, or you have iHeartRadio. You need to get iHeartRadio, folks. When I watch the show in here, or I jump in a car, I want to get a nice clean signal anywhere in the world. iHeartRadio, cue in WNN Radio, South Florida. You can listen. If you're watching on TrentoVision, wherever you are in the sound of our voice right now, we have a nemesis, the United West. We're exposing President Obama and his affiliation with the Muslim Brotherhood, and we fight Islamic jihadis. Well, whenever you have a nemesis, somebody who's opposed to you, usually, and this is the way the game goes, we understand it, usually they try to frame in the public eye who you are and what you're all about. So one of our nemesis, the Southern Poverty Law Center, we've done a lot of work exposing them. They are a criminal organization. They are a money laundering criminal organization. They haven't been caught yet or tried. They're pretty slick, and they are a lying, deceiving organization. But we had a couple of our friends this past week do some speeches at the Voters Value Summit in Washington, D.C. And we got some good little clips from a couple of speakers that we want to show you regarding their extended talk, but we're just going to show you a little bit about how other folks view the Southern Poverty Law Center. The first one is the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King assassinated, I think it was April 1968. His niece, who is 62 years old.
She looks young for 62.
Yeah, she went through a rough life. She had a lot of problems in her life, straightened her life out. She's a pretty serious Christian now and a serious pro-lifer. She ain't no friend of the SPLC. Let's take a listen to Alveda King. Alveda King.
Building with enough ammunition to kill everyone in it. He came to FRC as a gunman, fueled by hate-mongering from the Southern Poverty Law Center. The shooter admitted he was directed to FRC's location by the Southern Poverty Law Center's website. While SPLC claims to fight against hate, they have been saying hateful things about the Family Research Council and perhaps other groups who are represented here today. By the grace,
Leo Johnson, our hero.
God bless him and his family, who took a bullet from the shooter. Many deaths were averted. Today, the shooter is behind bars as a result of being convicted for domestic terrorism. But the SPLC and many others who couch hate and anger in false claims of civil rights activism still roam free to confuse the masses with their deceptions. Friends, make no personal designer issue of the day. We are now called together to humbly fight the good fight.
Okay.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Thank you, Alveda.
Yes.
Alveda is, and she was elected in her state of Georgia, elected official. She's a minister now. She's talking about Leo Johnson, Family Research Council's gentleman who served as a real hero, intervening when Floyd Lee Corkins came with 15 bags of Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches to kill at least 15 of the 70 employees at Family Research Council, August 15th, 2012, I believe it was. Yeah, last summer. That's when he did that. He's been sentenced now. He got, what did he get, 25 years? First conviction of domestic terrorism in the District of Columbia. And it was a homosexual, not just a homosexual activist who hates Christians, and because the Family Research Council took a moral position based upon their Christian principles against gay marriage, he wanted to kill them. It's the world we're living in today. We're going to bring up in a couple of minutes Sandy Rios, who's a friend of ours, a very successful talk show hostess out of Washington, D.C. She was also at this significant Voters Value Summit last week in Washington, D.C., and that's a place where conservatives come together who come around family values and try to figure out, all right, what do we need to do to influence legislation and get morally minded people elected? Take a listen to Sandy Rios, talk show host, as she also discusses the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Know the extent and the reach of AFA. We have 2.5 million constituents. We have 190 radio stations. We have a journal. And just, not that long ago, the SPLC has decided that we are, in fact, a hate group. And they sent a letter. They said a letter. I don't know if you know this, but this is what I want you to know today. As
This
I
is
speak
from
to
the
you. This letter
SPLC.
went out
Listen to
week.
this.
We understand, sir, this is a letter from the Southern Poverty Law Center and GLAAD and the Human Rights Campaign and the NAACP and the National Council of La Raza, People for the American Way. They all joined on this letter. They wrote to every congressperson that was to speak at this conference this week, and this is what they said. We understand that you've been invited to speak at the upcoming Values Voter Summit. Given the demonizing lies about the LGBT community spread by the host, the Family Research Council, and another major sponsor of the event, the American Family Association, we urge you not to lend the prestige of your office to the summit. Every single congressperson, every senator that you have heard has received this letter and this warning from these groups. And they end it by warning us that Reince Priebus, the RNC chairman, said just last year, people in this country, no matter straight or gay, deserve dignity and respect. The question before you today, therefore, is whether the party of Lincoln stands in 2013 on vilifying the LGBT community. You can help answer that question by saying no to the bigotry and declining the invitation.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. That was just last week. That's Sandy Rios, friend of the United West. We're in a coalition fighting against the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC. Whenever you hear the letters SPLC, just translate that into HELL. The Southern Poverty Law Center is hell, basically. They wrote a letter to the congressional people. Now here's where the world is upside down. Anybody connected with the Values Voters Summit are very serious, moral people, most of whom are Christians, conservative Christians.
Any Muslim Brotherhood members?
I don't think so. No. And these folks had tremendous influence in this country from its earliest day.
Like Islam.
Like Islam. Up until the 60s, the sexual revolution, and then the Christian influence started deteriorating. Look at how the United States advanced as a country up to the 60s, and then look at the decline. You can show the decline of the Christian influence with prayer being taken out of the schools through the activity of Madalyn Mary O'Hair in 1961. You can track this stuff on a graph. Christianity starts having less of an influence, secularism more. From the 60s to now, do you think we're a more moral and more respectful, more loving, more kind society than we were from the beginning of our country?
Oh, yeah.
So, and here's where the world is upside down. You got the leftist organization, Southern Poverty Law Center, writing a letter to all the congressional elected officials who swear an oath on the Bible. And the SPLC is telling them, look, men want to have sex with men. Women want to have sex with women. Let them do it. This group is saying that's wrong. They're haters. You elected officials should not go there because you should endorse men having sex with men. That's the essence of
Hey, Tom,
the letter.
how long till the SPLC wants to sue the feds for being sworn into office on a Bible?
It's coming down the pike, let me tell you. And the SPLC has also said, myself and our organization are among the hating of the haters of the haters of Muslims.
The most vicious of the most vicious.
Another short clip from Sandy, and then we'll make a point with her, and then get into some other stuff here.
Threats being made. And we all know that a little more than a year ago, Floyd Corkins came into the offices of the Family Research Council because he had looked on the Southern Poverty Law Center's website, checked their list of hate groups, found FRC and a couple of others, gone into the building with the idea that he would commit mass murder, with a bag full of Chick-fil-A sandwiches that he was going to stuff in their mouths after he murdered them. We know that the building manager stopped that. He was badly injured himself, but he wasn't killed. But he's paid a tremendous price for that. And do you know that the Southern Poverty Law Center has refused to apologize or express regret in any way, and they have refused to remove the names of the Family Research Council, the American Family Association, on their list of hate groups? Well, that's not so shocking because we know that there are groups and there are people on the left that are fringe groups. They don't have much influence and they are free to hate, even in this country. But let me tell you something about why this is important. The Southern Poverty Law Center sounds great, doesn't it? You know, it's always had a reputation, sort of a history of helping people in the civil rights movement, and they've had a good reputation. That's what people think they do, but that's not really what they do.
At all.
An explanation. They were founded in 1971
She's a good speaker.
by
She's a very good speaker.
attorneys Morris Deeds and Joseph Levin Jr. They made their fortune in direct mail, and those of us in the in the conservative circles know what direct mail
All
is.
right, let's
but they were
wind
selling
out
doormats
of
and
Sandy. I
tractor
wanted her to
seat
get
cushions.
that letter on the record. She has about a 15-minute presentation, and Sandy is excellent talk show host. She's on the
Good-looking
American-
lady.
Yeah, she's on the American Family Association. I think that's the name of the network. 190 affiliate stations. That's 189 more affiliates than we have. We got to do something about that. This is your time to donate securely.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell them how to do it.
Actually, we're coming out with a plan for the state of Florida and for the country to expand our radio show. We produce a television show. The audio is simulcast on the radio. To expand this program throughout the state of Florida, then to other key states that will have an impact in the 2014-2016 election. We are revolutionaries at the ballot box, not at the bullet box. And we believe that the words we use, the messages we convey, the information we present can be so effective, and we've proven this in the last cycle, that we want to expand our program to other parts of the state, other swing states, to have a determinative effect on the 2014 election. We need your help. If you're out there and you're one of two types of people, you have a lot of money or you got a little money. If you got no money, you need some help, contact us. Maybe we can help you out, who knows. But if you got a little bit of money and you can make a minimum $18 a month donation to the United West, please, we beg of you. I'm a terrible fundraiser. We can do the work fairly well, so I'm not going to belabor this. $18 a month minimum. If you want to make 25 or 50, fine. Go to the website, theunitedwest.org. Little button on the top right-hand side, donate securely. Click on that. And once you sign up, you give them your credit card, you say recurring, then music will play and flowers will come out of your computer, and I may even come through the computer and pat you on the back and thank you. So see if that happens. The more money you give, the better chance you have of me coming through the computer and actually appearing in your office. How about that? But you may be one of the other types of people that has so much money you don't know what the heck to do with it. I'll tell you what. Call me. Give me a call.
Call him.
We got some great plans, expanding the studio, launching more investigative campaigns into the bad guys, infiltrating the bad guys legally. We know how to do it all. We just need a little more juice, a little more fuel to make this rocket ship get to the moon. So if you're in any of those positions, thank you very, very much. But on these kinds of occasions also, the memorial occasions, and this is not a formal memorial. It's certainly a distinctive and definitive jihad memorial. It's the 24th of October, 2013. Yesterday, we introduced slightly the 30-year anniversary of the bombing of the Marine Corps Barracks in Beirut, Lebanon, 1983, October 23rd. And we said that it was 220 Marines who were killed, 18 sailors and 3 Army personnel. A couple of minutes later at the French barracks, because there were French paratroopers also in this multinational peace force, 59 Frenchmen were killed, and this was 30 years ago yesterday in Beirut. Now, Damon, if you could put the map up, I sent you a map. You're looking, if you're on TrentoVision or any of the websites that carry the show, you're looking at some of the aftermath of the bombing, suicide bombing. One of the trucks driven by a suicide bomber had 21,000 pounds Look at that building. That was a multi-storied, very strong concrete building, absolutely devastated by the blast. And the way this stuff works, you have a firecracker, you have gunpowder wrapped tightly in a little device, in this case a firecracker. You light it, and when the spark hits the material lights so quickly, so fast, that it creates so much force as it expands that it pops the paper around the cracker, and you got a firecracker. Well, if you expand that a millionfold, and you have these sophisticated chemicals now, that when they're ignited, they expand so rapidly, and you squeeze all of that into a big box truck. You ever see these trucks on the side? It'll say 26,000 GVW, gross vehicle weight. Well, you could put 21,000 pounds of tomatoes in there and run it into a building, and you're going to have a lot of tomato sauce all over the place. You could put 21,000 pounds of what? Abdullah, what would you put in a truck? If you were
C4,
oh, you
fertilizer,
okay, so you put
ammonium
21,000
nitrate,
pounds of explosives.
you
run it into it. You don't even run it into the building. You ignite it close to the building. In fact, you can shape these charges now within the truck by doing certain things.
Don't give too much information. Don't give my secrets out.
By doing certain things and direct the blast to go in a particular way, which was the case right here. A very, very sad day. But the point of the next few moments of our show is to tie this horrific event of 30 years ago to the horrific events that are occurring today, that occurred last week where we lost 6 guys in Afghanistan, and that will occur in the future, because it is impossible to stop a Sharia-compliant Muslim who wants to kill infidels. It's impossible to stop that person 100% of the time, 100 times. Can't be done. Sooner or later, they're going to get through. There's going to be a Boston. There's going to be a Mumbai. There's going to be a Nairobi. And there's going to be larger ones if they get their hands on bigger and bigger firecrackers. I said yesterday, so our point today is to connect Beirut bombing with the events going on in the Middle East so that you have a historical context to understand the jihad. You understand why people like myself, like Steve Emerson, Robert Spencer, Pamela, Frank Gaffney, the crew listed in CARE's worst Islamophobes.
And Southern Poverty Law Center that we were
Southern
just
Poverty
talking about.
And our team here. I'm the figurehead of our team. We've got significant people behind what we're doing, hardworking people that aren't on camera all the time. And we're doing this because of that building behind us. We understand that those who blew it up are the same people that want to blow up your building wherever you are right now, anywhere on the face of the earth, if you're a Western country. Okay? So we want to make the connection, and the whole historic connection, the academic component of what we're doing for the next few moments, has an activism label to it, an activism dynamic to it. We're not here just to sound good and teach information that, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I learned something today. We're here to touch your heart, your feet, your soul, to mobilize you to action, for you to get so furious with the injustices and angry, righteously angry, that you go, you know what? I've been keeping this little blog for 2 hours a week, and Tom, I understand what you're talking about. I see the lethality of the situation we're in. I see the potential devastation for our families and friends worldwide. I'm gonna cut out, my 4 nights playing basketball or my 3 days playing golf. I'm gonna cut one of those out. I'm gonna commit 2 or 3 more hours a week. That's all we ask. 2 or 3 more hours a week committed to fighting the jihad. When I say the jihad, I mean Muslims that want to kill Christians, Jews, and others, infidels. That's real. It's happening. We need help with it. We're going to give you a little information now on what happened 30 years ago. We can illustrate our point with what happened 30 minutes ago, because somewhere on this planet, a jihad attack occurred 30 minutes ago that is similarly devious, lethal, dangerous, and devastating. But to show this little piece of history where it changed our country, where we turned tail and ran to our own detriment, is a lesson that needs to be learned so that you little activists become big activists, and you non-activists become
Little activists.
See how that works? It's pretty simple. Well, show the map. Let's show this map of the Ottoman Empire right there. Looks squirrely looking thing, isn't it? Down the bottom, I think it says, for those of you driving, we have a map up on our screen. Go to youtube.com/theunitedwest. Don't do it now. Drive your car right now. When you get
Peggy.
home, youtube.com/theunitedwest to see all the visuals. We have a map that was drawn from the 16th and 17th century, and it shows the expansion of the Ottoman Empire. What do you see, Damon or Mike? What do you see that's unique about the brownish red is the Ottoman Empire? What do you see that's unique about how it kind of migrated itself? Came out of Mecca down the bottom in Saudi Arabia, and then it took off. It went as far south as it can go, down to the bottom of Saudi Arabia, and then it started going north. What happened?
Well, Muhammad moved north.
But geographically, I mean, if you just look at that.
If you just look at it, I mean, obviously it's Mediterranean based.
And it stayed around.
It's all coastal. It's coastal. It's all along rivers.
And back in the 16th and 1700s, you had to have water.
Had to.
There was no irrigation. There was no sewer system. You had to live on the water.
Actually, listen.
Was
The Muslims destroyed a lot of that stuff. Okay. A lot of people don't want to attribute the Dark Ages to Islam, but I've read a lot about it, and you most certainly can, at least a great deal of it. And if you go back to the Black Plague, why do you think they suddenly started getting sick after hundreds of years of not? It's because the Muslims destroyed all the sewer and irrigation in a lot of these places they went.
Well, the interesting thing is also we've been to the various Muslim museums and everything, and it's those times, the Middle Ages, where
small museums, huh?
Where they say that that was Islam's golden time, because the Dark Ages before the Middle Ages were so dark that Islam brought light and brightness.
No, I've read a lot of things where it's actually.
You mean they lie?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the map. The map goes into North Africa, along the northern coast of Africa. And obviously, that's where people were living. It didn't go too much inland because there was not a whole lot of...
You see it coming down the Nile River.
Yeah, you had to be by water to sustain a city of some sort. It goes through the Middle East into what is... Because Israel and all those places had been pretty well occupied, into Syria, the Lebanon area. Then it cuts across the Mediterranean, goes into... what's that big country up there?
Talking about Russia?
No, it goes into Turkey. Obviously into Turkey, because that's where it came out of. That's where it was based. This is the Ottoman Empire.
Germany.
And started to go up into the Balkan area. Didn't quite get over to Italy. My Italian relatives kept them at bay for a while. But it was expansive, the Ottoman Empire.
Actually, they did make it over into southern Italy.
They made it to Sicily a little later.
Mm-hmm.
But
the Moors.
that was earlier, actually. But the Ottoman Empire didn't make it over into Italy. For the Ottoman Empire, for the history buffs out there, just think 1300 to 1900. It was a 600-year reign, Muslim reign, where the Sultan, you see these big sultans being carried about by all these people. The Sultan in Istanbul, Turkey, was the Caliph. And they had a caliphate. The caliphate extended to 30-something provinces or countries, and he ruled with an iron fist and an iron sword, and would allow his Muslim warriors to go kill and rape and ravage and keep some of the booty, the physical booty and the other kind of booty, all kinds of booty.
Oh, he's old Trento talking about booty, boy.
So they kept that thing going for a while, but for our purposes today, to work our way into Beirut. When the Ottoman Empire fell, essentially because of the First World War, Then the European Axis, the allies in Europe, said, oh, we got all this land that has been defeated. What do we do with it?
Carve it up and let's create some future wars.
Do we just defeated an enemy? Do we say, okay, we're going home, you can go back to business? No. We've got to make sure that they don't regroup and come back again. So
like we're doing in Afghanistan.
Yeah, bye-bye Afghanistan. That is so bad. Iraq is a Shia country right now. Lost by President Obama, but that's what he wanted to do, and Afghanistan is going to be the same way.
How quickly things can reverse.
You know,
we had that situation after the surge. We had that whole thing clamped down tighter than a frog's butt, and now
well, here's the problem.
It is an absolute bloodbath. I mean, what, last weekend alone, Tom, 150, 180 killed?
This is a pet peeve of mine. We point to President Obama because rightfully so, he's the guy leading the charge.
He is the commander-in-chief.
But the problem is more systemic. Systemic means the stem of the system. You know, here's the system. As the stem goes all the way down, the stem is rotten. If it wasn't for the lack of patriotism of Americans, this president could never be doing what he's doing to us right now. We have almost a majority of Americans that have no sense of patriotism. They couldn't care less.
They think patriotism is a bad thing.
It's reversed itself. There's no sense of nationalism, no sense of federal unity, that you're a member of a state and you got your college teams and your high school teams and you know you love your state, but on the broader sense, you're part of a federated system of 50 states. And you're unified over this compact, the Constitution.
50 or 57?
I think it's 57. You got your state constitution, and you're unified as state members around that, whether it's 1 million people in South Dakota or 19 million people here in Florida. But then you say, you know what? Let's expand out our family to this chunk of states here, and we'll all be united over this other compact called the United States Constitution. Well, it requires a certain belief system, a certain understanding of certain principles, and a certain behavioral system.
Rights and responsibilities. It's not just rights, it's responsibilities.
I can't place 100% blame on President Obama for the problems because the people don't care, don't give a damn about America.
Right, and went back to what you said in yesterday's show. You were comparing, said that it was a downfall in the 60s with, Christianity being on its downturn with taking prayer out of the schools. And you're saying that Obama, what he gets away with, he's got even Slick Willie beat, as far, meaning Bill Clinton. What I think it's so much easier, think how much easier it is now to come out from the left, even than it was. When did Clinton get elected? In 92, right?
1992.
Okay. Think how much easier it is to get away with being a hard lefty these days than it was in 1992. I mean, society has changed so much. There used to be a concept of shame and responsibility in this country that's absolutely gone.
It's frightening.
And when I say shame, I mean ashamed to just live on the dole from the government. I mean, there was a time when people were actually embarrassed about it. Now people talk about it like, hey, what'd you watch on TV last night?
Now in certain communities, in the inner city, a lot of the inner city communities, they're embarrassed not to be scamming the government.
Because you and Uncle Tom. You must be an Uncle Tom.
Yeah, what's the deal with you, man? Get your money. Go get your phone. And it isn't only in the minority communities. It's pervasive in the minority communities for sure. I saw yesterday on the news that illegals get they get subsidy for education for their kids. Illegal people that are violating federal law to be here. They've cut in line in front of other people. They're here, and their kids want to go to school. Our government subsidizes those kids to go to school in the United States.
Well, I don't know if I'd mentioned this one on the show before. State of Maryland last year, I don't know if it was earlier this year or last year, approved a bill, state legislature, for the state of Maryland university system to offer illegal aliens in-state tuition. Okay, so if you live in New York and want to go to Maryland, you pay an out-of-state. But if you're from Mexico and here illegally, you get to pay the in-state. And for those that don't know the differences in tuitions for state universities, it's about triple for being an in-state versus an out-of-state. It's about 3 times the cost. So the state of Maryland decided to give illegal aliens 67% cut on their tuition rates.
Unbelievable. Let me get to this stuff here. But the point of the matter is, we're in the problems we're in, and we have a dilapidated military right now, actually, which is very, very bad. And the point we're making on today's show with Beirut is we need to learn the lessons from the horror of Beirut to prepare for the future. We're going in the opposite direction. So what I want to do is just give everybody a sense of what occurred on that day. You guys can roll some of the B-roll. I'm going to do a little reading, sort of a moment-by-moment, blow-by-blow timeline of what occurred on Sunday. It was a Sunday, October 23rd, 1983, around 6 a.m. in the morning, actually 6:22 in the morning, a 19-ton yellow Mercedes-Benz truck, stake truck, drove to the Beirut International Airport where the U.S. 24th Marine Amphibious Unit was deployed. You can show some of the B-roll. The 1st Battalion, 8th Marines, commanded by Lieutenant Larry Gerlach, was a subordinate element of the 24th MAU. The truck was not the water truck that the Marines had been expecting on the morning of the 23rd, 1983. Instead, it was a hijacked truck carrying, what else? Explosives. The driver turned his truck onto an access road leading to the compound. He drove into and circled the parking lot. Then he accelerated to crash through a 5-foot-high barrier of concertina wire, separating the parking lot from the building. It's about 6:30 now. The wire popped like somebody walking on twigs. The 19-ton Mercedes-Benz truck then passed between 2 sentry posts, passed through an open vehicle gate in the perimeter chain link fence, crashed through a guard shack in front of the building, smashed into the lobby of the building, serving as the building was serving as the barracks for the 1st Battalion, 8th Marines. The sentries at the gate were operating under rules of engagement, which made it very difficult to respond to the truck quickly. Come back to me for a minute. The rules of engagement were the Marines were there as a peacekeeping force. It's 1983. Right now, after the 67 war and the 73 war in Israel, many of the Palestinians left Israel and went into Lebanon. And in fact, Iran started working with some of the Lebanese to form Hezbollah. And all of a sudden, you've got this military vicious wing being developed on the northern border of Israel. So Israel said, this ain't happening. So the civil war was occurring at the same time where the Maronite Christians are fighting the Muslims, Shia and Sunni. It was a real mess. I mean, Beirut used to be the Paris of the Middle East. It was so beautiful. We're showing pictures of Hezbollah, Nassan,
look at those little kids with
Hassan Nasrallah, the little kids. So the civil war is going on, all this craziness.
Nazi salute.
Yeah, Israel's going in and saying, you guys ain't building an army on our northern border. So some of the European forces and the Americans went in to separate all the people to get the PLO out, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat's organization. Get them out of there, get them to Jordan, get them somewhere else. They got to leave. So the Americans are there as a peacekeeping force. The Muslims thought that they turned and became an opposition force, but primarily the Americans were not fighting. So Muslims had to teach them a lesson, and this is a significant lesson. Sunday morning, it's about 7 o'clock now, 6:30. Let's get back to the story here. The 19-ton truck passed through the sentry post, smashed into the lobby. The sentries at the gate were under unique rules of engagement where they couldn't shoot at the truck. Man, is that the same problem?
It really sounds like Afghanistan.
Sentries were ordered to keep their weapons at condition 4. No magazines inserted and no rounds in the chamber. So your sentries there with your M4s back then, and a truck's coming right at you. You have no magazine inserted. You've got mere seconds. And well, only one sentry, Corporal Eddie DeFranco, was able to load and chamber a round. However, by the time the truck was already crashing into the building, it was too late. The suicide bomber, who was this suicide bomber 30 years ago? An Iranian national named Ismail Askari. Ismail Askari. He reached the entry point right at around 6:22 and detonated his explosives, which were later estimated to be 21,000 pounds of explosives, TNT. Force of the explosion collapsed the 4-story building into rubble, crushing many inside. According to Eric Hamill, in his history of the U.S. Marine Landing Force, this was one of the most devastating catastrophes the Marines have ever faced. And the explosive mechanism was a gas-enhanced device, consisted of compressed butane in canisters employed with PETN to create a fuel-air explosive. This is a sophisticated bomb, folks. The bomb was carried on layers of concrete covered with a slab of marble to direct the blast upward, that shaped charge I told you about. Despite the lack of sophistication, though it was sophisticated in those days, and wide availability of component parts, this was an extremely lethal weapon. Less than 10 minutes later, an attack occurred on the barracks of the French 3rd Company of the 1st Parachute Regiment. 59 French paratroopers died there. As a result of this catastrophe, in 1983, October 23rd, Sunday morning, it was decided by President Reagan, who was doing a lot of good things back then, and looking at the evil empire of Russia, of the Soviet Union. It was decided to pull out of the Middle East, and when he pulled the Marines out of the Middle East, folks, that created two unique dynamics. One, the Marines left in what? Defeat. I mean, it was a clear defeat. They weren't allowed to fight back.
How can you be defeated if you were never allowed to fight?
Yeah, well, in their mind, in the minds of the Marines, they wanted to go back and fight. They were restrained and constrained. Their buddies that they lived and breathed and died with, saw them die, would have wanted them to fight. But our government said, no, we have to leave. So there was a real devastation of morale within the Marine units at that time, pulling out. Conversely, that extrication of this vicious, devastating fighting force, the U.S. Marines, left an unbelievable vacuum. And the vacuum was filled in two ways. The vacuum was filled by the jihadis who said, oh my word, we just beat the toughest guys on the face of the earth. We beat the U.S. Marines. We know how to make America run. And if you think the Trade Center buildings weren't related philosophically and organizationally to this bombing, you're making a mistake. Not only did the pulling out of the Marines embolden the jihadis, they filled that space, but they read it, and here's the point, they read it theologically. They said, Allah is blessing us in this jihad. Continue with explosive, dynamic, vicious force. We will beat the Americans. And folks, that's where we are today. That's why we need to fight and fight to win. See you tomorrow.